South of Midnight. I have finished the game. Took me about 14 hours. And I'm here for the review, man. I played it on the Xbox Series X. And this game is published by Xbox and it's developed by Compulsion Games. And this is my review on South of Midnight. What's going on, you guys? Gaming out here coming at you with another review. It's South of Midnight, man. I've been looking forward to this game since I seen it on that stage, and I felt like it was definitely one of the most unique games that Xbox has shown in a while. And I was looking forward to actually getting my hands on this game, and I have. You know, shout out to Microsoft, shout out to Compulsion. They gave me the opportunity to play this. I beat it to its perfection. Well, I didn't perfect the game. I just beat it. It took me about 12 to 14 hours, somewhere around there. And generally, like the first, I would say, couple hours of this game, it's really good. You know, I really enjoyed the first couple hours. I felt like, you know, the art, the sound, felt like it had decent platforming. Not the greatest, but definitely not the worst by far. It just had fun platforming. But when it comes to that, man, that's about it. You know, I don't really have a layout with this. One thing I will say is in terms of gameplay, because that's what we're talking about right now, I would say that's my biggest criticism with South of Midnight, is the fact that in terms of gameplay, what you see in the first, 2 hours, minus some abilities, is what you're going to get for the entire experience. I personally don't like this. I personally feel that when I play a game, and this is my opinion, maybe you guys can put in the comment section below if you disagree, I feel like a game has to evolve. I feel like a game has to improve from, you know, chapter to chapter at least. But when it comes to this game, South of Midnight felt like you got the base foundation, and they never wanted to expand on that base foundation. You know, you got your typical attacks. I didn't even really feel like there was combos in this game to that degree. So I would have preferred them to take that ground floor, because essentially when you get all your abilities in the first maybe hour of the game, 2 hours of the game max, that is pretty much what you're working with the whole time. Most of the time, they let you interact with the weapons differently. Maybe they give you more unique gameplay style. This game was very, very big on being up close and personal. Not to mention when you're doing the actual fights themselves, it's very clear to see where the fights are, because it'll be like an oval. Is this fight, is this combat horrible? No. The foundation's good. But the problem is once you do that foundation 1, 2, 4, 5, 8 times, you're not changing it. So it gets a little bit repetitive. Now, I personally feel like they should have put some mid-range stuff on here. You know, Hazel's got reverb abilities. So I think that would have made sense for, you know, do some kind of... Now, they did have a long-range move on here, but I didn't feel like it was anything relevant in that terms. That's probably the biggest thing, in my opinion, that they can improve on this game, is that combat. Now, it's like I said, it's not horrible, but it gets repetitive extremely quickly. And that's probably in terms of that. You know, I think when you're actually fighting, the hits sound good. I think there's a lot of good aspects, some unique enemy variation, but I do feel like maybe for next time, if they're allowed a sequel, you know, let me fight some other stuff besides black creatures, because that's essentially what all you're gonna fight in this game is just the same form of creatures. And I think that is the biggest criticism I can give for this game, is improve that combat, make it maybe have another weapon, or you know, do what some other games have done, where you evolve the weapon you currently have and you fight with it differently. You know, go that direction. It's just a lot of things that I feel like they could have did better. I'm going to do story last in here, because I do feel like there's a lot I want to talk about story, but I don't want to really go into it too much. You know, we'll talk about the visuals and the performance. Visually, this game's good. I can't deny they picked a really good art style, and they took that southern and they evolved it, and I think most people are gonna like that when it comes to this. This is one of those games that a lot of time goes by, and it never really, they don't evolve that. What I mean that don't evolve that is that art style works from here forward. Like, look at like Wind Waker. Even though that game was made a long time ago, because of the art style, it's different. Because of the art style, you're never gonna have too many people say they don't like it, and I think that's probably one of the reasons they went this art style. The slow motion thing or stop motion, I myself am not a fan. I think they do let you disable that in the options. They let you disable that for the gameplay itself, but they don't let you disable that for like the story and stuff. And was it like a huge issue? No, but I feel like they should have let me just disable that in general. Like, give me more options, not less. I do appreciate that you gave me the options in terms of, gameplay, because I did play like a good 2 hours of this game with that on just to see, because I wanted to be fair. I was not a fan, so I can understand that particular thing. Art style is good. It is. I think you guys are going to enjoy that. It's probably one of the best pillars of this game is the art style. Performance. Didn't really have any issues with performance. I did play this on the Xbox Series X. I myself had no issues, but I can't determine where other people are coming from. I didn't play this on PC at all, on Steam or the Windows Store. I guess I could have tried it on the Windows Store, but I didn't try it myself, so I can't really speak on that. But on the Xbox Series X, I did have one issue where I couldn't press Y. There would be like these incidences where you have to do these puzzles, and you have to clear out this, this gunk or whatever they call it. It's pretty much like they clear out the bad stuff in the world. And there's a time where like I would try to press Y and it wouldn't do it, and I had to like reset the game. Only time it happened, just one time. I did find some clippings. That's not necessarily performance, but there'd be times where you're doing platforming, and I feel like platforming is a really important part of this game. And when platforming happens, you kind of feel like that's a key aspect of the game. And I felt like there would be like certain parts at the end where you couldn't really necessarily go. If you brushed up again, you had to be like right up on it to take damage. And I felt like for a game like this that kind of like really focuses on platforming, that kind of like hurt the game a little bit. And in terms of platforming and your traversal in general, I will say this game does decent in platforming. I do feel like they should have changed it up a little bit. There are sections of the game that they did where you had like these air flows where you're flying with your glide ability, and I like that. I just felt like you should have did that a little bit more. And keep in mind, I am coming off of Astrobot. I'm coming off of Split Fiction. I am coming off games that would skew my mind a little bit when it comes to platforming. Do I think this platforming is amazing? No. Do I think it's horrible? No. I think it's good platforming that gets your point across, and I think for the most part that's good. I think that's a fantastic story. Told you guys, man. Story's probably one of the. I'm indifferent with story. I like the aspect of the story when it comes to Hazel and her family. I feel like that was very interesting. I got all the information that I wanted. I like that. I felt like that did well. What I didn't like is everything else in the game. Yeah, and what I mean by everything else in the game, like how this story kind of unfolds, and you guys seen it in the trailers and stuff, where you do like you're a weaver, you're supposed to like repair pain, and you're coming across these troubled spirits, and you're figuring out what made them them. The problem is where this game is so short, 12 to 14 hours, most of these people you coming across, you only come across for maybe 30, 45 minutes tops. So what you're having is you're having these aspects where you came across these at this particular thing, and what was frustrating is like, one, only a couple of them like really resonated with me, and two, I felt like they did nothing to the overall arching story. You know, I found myself when I came across these people to be like, this is cool, but I want to learn more about Hazel's family. And I understand in their mind, you're doing what you're meant to be done. You know, there's an incident where you come across someone else that used to do what Hazel does, and it's like flashbacks and stuff. And I'm like, you could have used that better. Like, I feel like the story, in my opinion, is going to be hit and miss with most people. I think some people are going to enjoy some of these things. Some of these people are going to like really, you know, get wowed by how they interact with some of the storytelling. I feel like some of people are going to be like me, where it's like, look, these stories are sad. These stories are like, I hate that happened, but it's like afterwards, I couldn't tell you what half their names are. I could tell you the stories, but anything as far as the actual people, none of them really grifted towards me. Now, the catfish was a real good person in this. Hazel herself, her mom, her grandmother. There are people here that you can grab onto. There are people here that you can really enjoy the experience with them. But I did feel the ending, and I'm not going to spoil it, obviously, let me down a little bit. I didn't feel that with the blocks they were building going through this whole game, I felt like that whole block just fell on its face at the end. They didn't really follow home very well. It's just like, look, Compulsion, I feel like they did a decent game, and I feel like this is definitely, you know, this is the next step to something like a We Happy Few. South to Midnight's not a bad game by any means to stretch the imagination, but it's not a great game either. It's one of those games that you play, that you enjoy, that you're able to get you from, you know, from now to the next game that you want to play. You know, South to Midnight is a fantastic foundation that if they are allowed to, and I do think they deserve a sequel, and to build on Hazel could be a really good mascot for the Xbox brand. I feel like a lot of people would gravitate towards Hazel, and I think a lot of people deserve it. You know, look, the foundation to this game is there. The combat's there, the story there, the lore is there, the folklore is there. Everything is there. They just have to be given the opportunity to actually move it forward. Sometimes the best games in the industry are started with their sequels and not necessarily their prequels. I'm talking about the Uncharted to Uncharted 2 or the Mass Effect to the Mass Effect 2. You know, they built something good that disappointed me in some aspects, especially combat, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this isn't a foundation to make something great, something that everyone wants to look forward to playing. And I think they can do it. I honestly, truly think they could do it. When I played this game, there was not an opportunity where I felt like I wanted to drop it, but there were some times where I'm just like, the combat just feels stale, doesn't feel evolving. You know, the story, you know, at sometimes maybe it's not necessarily slow, but it's stuff I just didn't care about. But I think what they can do in a sequel would make this game worth being made. As far as like recommending it to you guys, it's in Game Pass. I think you should try it. Now, as far as like the full-blown price, I believe it's $50. I can't recommend that. I think it's $40 actually. I can't recommend it at full price. I think, you know, wait for a sale in terms of that. But it's in Game Pass. You know, it's worth a Game Pass sub. You know, play that. There's a lot of stuff coming out, especially this month in Game Pass, that you can jump into. I think there's plenty of games that you can get a sub and really enjoy those games on top of this. So I do think it is worth a subscription to Game Pass. Wait for a sale, especially if you're like a big combat dude. You might want to wait for a sale, because I do think this game is worth your time, just probably not at full-blown retail price. But anyway, tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. What did you guys think of South to Midnight? I'm very curious your guys' opinion on that. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button. It's always appreciated. You can always sub to the channel. We make weekly content over here. We do news, we do reviews, and we just talk stuff, man. We talk stuff. But anyway, put in the comment section below what you guys feel. And until next time, this is Gaming Addicts. This is my review on South to Midnight. We out of here. Peace.